an article that was published by Dr. Kibbe and Freschlag in the JAMA that actually looked at 251 surgical journals and found that only 6.7% had female editors. So I think the changes that we have made in our editorial system have been transforming, and we are going to see further changes because we are going to create a diversity and equity and inclusion in our system that matters.
With over 500,000 patients treated globally, Impact Admiral drug-coated balloon is the market-leading DCB for treatment of femoropopliteal disease. Learn more about how Impact Admiral DCB can affect reintervention rates for patients with PAD by visiting medtronic.com/5-year DCB. You're listening to the Vascular Podcast from Radcliffe Vascular. Today's host is Professor Ramesh Tripathi.
With me today is none else than Peter Gloviczki, a person who doesn't need a lot of introduction. He is one of my heroes when I was training, mainly because he was a vascular surgeon who could do anything, from aortas to peripheral bypass to venous bypasses to superficial vein surgeries. So he was one of the all-rounders of vascular surgery, and I tried to model my career and my skills on his template. Peter has been the editor-in-chief of Journal of Vascular Surgery, under whom the Vascular Surgery Journal has taken big strides. And previously, he was the Ruth Roberts and Joe M. Professor of Surgery, Emeritus of the Division of Vascular and Endovascular Surgery at Mayo Clinic, Rochester, Minnesota. And he was also the division chair there and director of Mayo Clinic Gonda Vascular Surgeon, and also the past president of the Society for Vascular Surgery, the World Federation of Vascular Societies, American Venous Forum, Society for Clinical Vascular Surgery, International Union of Angiology, and the American Venous Forum Foundation, and many others. And is there anything you didn't do, Peter? Welcome.
Good afternoon or good morning, wherever our listeners are. It's a real pleasure, Ramesh, to talk to you about our profession and our lives. And thank you for your gracious introduction. Indeed, my life, as I expect anybody's life, has been very colorful, and I enjoyed the journey very much.
Peter, good afternoon, and very warm welcome to this podcast. Can you tell us about your formative years in Hungary, and how did it shape you and start your journey to Western Europe and then to US?
Well, as you mentioned, I came from Central Europe, used to be Eastern Europe, part of the communist bloc, Hungary. My father was a physician. My brother was a physician. My grandfather was a physician. So I'm coming from a physician family, and I still remember that when I was only 6 years old, somebody asked me, "What do you want to be?" And I told him I would like to be a professor of surgery. And somehow this remained my commitment. My role model was no one else than my father. I thought he was the most compassionate and the most wonderful family practitioner that I have ever had, and I'm extremely thankful for everything that he and his mother and our family of 5 children meant to me, and they inspired me at the beginning and throughout my life. I went to a boarding school in Hungary, run by Benedictines. It was, the name is Pannonhalma. It's a World Heritage Site. It is one of the oldest Benedictine abbey in Europe. And I spent 4 years there, and that's where I learned languages. That's where I learned everything that prepared me for medical school. Medical school, I went to the Semmelweis University in Budapest, Hungary. I was very much interested, of course, in surgery in general, but then I worked 3 years in pathology during my 6-year medical curriculum with Professor Anna Kádár, who was especially well-trained and very knowledgeable in vascular diseases. And that gave me the first impression and the first direction towards vascular.
Peter, if I may interrupt.
Sure.
Do you see a big difference between the teaching styles and the curriculum between the medical school in Semmelweis and today? And what do you think is the big difference? And are we going in the right direction?
Well, of course, I can really judge the education that we received at Semmelweis in the late 60s and early 70s, which I'm sure is already completely different than what you would get today. But we had fantastic basic science professors. Our education in anatomy, in pathology, in biochemistry, in biology was very good. The lectures, the didactic lectures, were very good in internal medicine. I remember very well, or biochemistry. What was not so good at that time in Hungary is the practical experience. We were just too many students for one faculty in the hospitals, and our practical experience at bedside and certainly in the operating room was not as good as what we have.
And we ended up as more bookish doctors rather than practical doctors. And this is something which I've seen when I graduated in India as well. You have a wealth of knowledge, but the practical application is still yet to be achieved. Is that what you thought?
Yes, I think you are absolutely right. You know, the communist system was not very helpful, although it is just very recently that they changed the healthcare system in a way that will certainly allow better education of young surgeons. At my time, physicians were paid very poorly. So, the patients actually gave money to the doctors. The older doctors didn't want to train the younger doctors because then they felt disadvantaged financially. So I think the system was not very useful for education of young people. We got a lot from the German professorial hierarchy as well. So I think things are changing, improving, but I was very thankful in a way that when I came to this country, I repeated quite a bit of my education that made me competent in what I ultimately have accomplished.
So please tell us about your general and vascular surgery trainings in Budapest and then in Western Europe.
What was different in Europe, vascular surgery was clearly a strong specialty that dealt with arteries, veins, and lymphatics. It was obvious that a vascular surgeon was not just an arterial surgeon. And that's what I learned in my institution as well. My professor, Professor Scholtes, who was the pioneer vascular surgeon in Hungary, who established vascular surgery as an independent specialty already in the 1980s, taught me that a vascular surgeon should treat patients with vascular disease, and vascular disease includes arteries, veins, and lymphatics. So that's why we all learned how to repair an aortic aneurysm, how to do a distal bypass, how to treat a patient with a venous ulcer or a venous obstruction. And I myself, because I had an interest, I also learned how to perform a microsurgical lymphovenous anastomosis to treat patients with lymphedema.
Excellent. And where did the magic come from?
Well, magic came very early. I was 10 years old when I met a magician in Hungary, the magician who later became my teacher, who was a member of the Amateur Magician Association in Hungary, and he was a physician. He worked together with my father, and he gave us a magic show in one summer at a resort where we spent all the summers, and I just loved it. So I tried to beg him to show me some tricks, and ultimately I was very persistent. He decided he's going to teach me, and he showed me one trick at a time, like he showed me how to make a coin disappear, and after 1 week I had to come back and show him what I did, and if he liked it, then he showed me another one. If he didn't like it, then he sent me home. He said, go ahead and practice another week. So I actually loved it, and when I was 14 years old, I was in a TV search, like a young talent search in
the team Tud.
And I was the winner of that TV competition, so I became quite well known in Hungary. And then after that, even though I always wanted to be a surgeon, I traveled quite a bit as a professional magician in the subsequent years and during medical school, and I was able to participate at magic competitions and got some prizes. So it's a great hobby, and that helped me throughout my whole life.
Oh, I've seen you perform at some of the conferences, and I've been just too impressed. I mean, you are like a maestro yourself. Do you find similarities between surgery and magic?
Well, obviously, as you know, the dexterity certainly is needed for both. But in addition to the manual dexterity that the surgeons need and the magicians need, also communication. I learned languages, all the languages that I speak, and I speak German and French and English, and I learned 10 years Russian, but obviously speak Hungarian. So I used magic to communicate with people a lot, and that helped me to learn languages and also to talk to my patients and develop a a contact, within a very short period of time, which, as you know, is very much needed during our consultation with our patients.
And also, it's about innovation and thinking out of the box.
Yeah, absolutely, and that helped me. The best prize I got was a silver medal at the World Championship of Magic, which was for a magic trick that I developed, and nobody else could do it. So that's what they. That's why they gave us the high prize. So you are right that innovation and invention is very important in magic as well as in surgery, of course.
And, I said in the beginning that I modeled my skill gathering and my career based on your all-round ability to do everything from head to toe, as you have shown the path. Why did you get into a particular niche, a specialty, and instead you continue to do aortas, mesenterics, venous bypasses, both arterial and venous and lymphatic? How did that happen, and what are the lessons in there for future vascular surgeons who are training?
Well, that's a great question. I think clearly the conditions where I was at made it possible. Mayo Clinic is an amazing institution, and you have all kind of patients. You just have to open up your practice and your interest. And if you say, I'm going to see patients with lymphedema, you have patients with lymphedema. If I want to see patients with venous ulcers, you see patients with venous ulcers. So I had a absolutely fantastic position as a Mayo Clinic vascular surgeon because the institution is really a melting pot of simple cases and very complex, difficult cases. So patients come to us from the surrounding 8 states for routine care, but patients also come to us from around the world with rare diseases and rare conditions, and they expect that somebody is going to take care of them. And I loved that position, that I was able to provide care. Of course, as time went on and our profession really was enriched by the endovascular techniques, it became quite obvious, though, that not everybody can do open thoracoabdominal reconstructions, complex endovascular aortic repairs, and microsurgical lymphovenous anastomosis at the same time. So I have to say that maybe our generation has been the last of the Mohicans that covered all aspects of vascular disease, and probably very correctly we are going to see more and more surgeons who specialize to one or two areas. Still, I believe that a all-around vascular surgeon should deal with both arterial and venous diseases.
Can you tell me, looks like you had a fantastic life and fantastic career, but I'm sure there would be some challenges on the road. So what were the biggest challenges that you have faced in the course of your career, and how did you overcome them?
Each of us have challenges, and I had several challenges, many challenges. Maybe the most significant challenge in my life was the decision that I leave Hungary and start practicing in the United States. And because it required practically a repeat of my general surgery and vascular surgery training, and almost complete repetition. So by the time I got to the staff of Mayo Clinic, I was 15 years out of medical school. So, and I completed 2 full general surgery residency and 3 vascular fellowships. So 15 years of training. I told the chief resident Rose that it was wonderful to have 15 years of training, but it was just about enough. I probably couldn't take another year. So
you were probably a professor while you were training itself.
I think that was certainly also one of my biggest joys in my life was when I joined the Mayo Clinic and I became a Mayo Clinic vascular surgeon.
You've been the president of Society for Vascular Surgery. What is the highlight of your tenure, and what was your biggest takeaway from the experience of being the president of such an elite society?
Well, it certainly was the highlight of my professional career. Being the president of your peers is the highest recognition that you can get, and it was certainly an unbelievable experience. It is a unique society. The camaraderie and the collaboration of the leaders was amazing. Very high standards. Having a journal that we all looked upon, the Journal of Vascular Surgery, like the #1 academic journal, that was the owned, or that is owned by the society. And during the year when I was president, I thought the biggest accomplishment was to increase the international spirit of the Society for Vascular Surgery. We had an amazing increase of the international chapters of the SVS at that time, with the South American chapters, the European chapters, the joining the SVS that year. I felt very good that I thought that I contributed to build the society to become not only the North American, but the international leader in vascular and endovascular surgery.
I attended your presidential address when you were the president. I think it was in San Diego. You gave your presidential address, and not San Diego, San Francisco,
Yes.
I, as an international vascular surgeon, was very impressed that in a time when vascular surgeons were talking about cost effectiveness and talking about how much they are earning in terms of sustainability of their RVUs, etc., you gave a talk, and that was what was most impressionable to me, talking about vascular surgery being all for the patient. And I think that was a great talk and great message you passed on to the fellows and trainees and young vascular surgeons who were there. Do you think that message has gone very well in the United States trainees' minds, and we are moving towards a more patient-centric, treatment protocols and processes in the United States?
I think so. It certainly is a message that I got from my father, from my institution, and that has always been really the concept at Mayo Clinic, that the patient, the interest of the patient is the only interest to be considered. And that's why, following one of the Mayo's articles, I thought that the best title I can give to my thoughts, that obviously was so influenced by the type of care I try to give to every patient in my practice, that the best that we must provide the best care to every patient every day,
every time. Yeah.
And I believe that we are doing a lot for that. The societies are working in that regard by providing valuable evidence-based clinical practice guidelines. And now we published just a couple of months ago the first appropriate use criteria for treatment of chronic venous disease, because we believe that as a society we are responsible not only to speak up against inappropriate overuse of procedures, but we actually should also speak up for the patient and against inappropriate underuse of helpful procedures. So I think we are going to see more and more of these appropriate use criteria that define the appropriate and necessary care of our patients and help practitioners use the guidelines and use the appropriate use criteria to define the best care to the patient, even if there is no prospective randomized study available to support a procedure that is relatively new but clearly effective. And especially in venous disease, where we see so many new techniques and technology, I think this is very important that we, the responsible leaders of our profession, provide guidelines to use the procedures appropriately, even if there is not enough or not a high level of evidence that's available to support the use of those procedures.
Peter, recently there was a controversy of a JVS paper that stoked the Med Bikini protest. I know you've been one of the most ardent advocates of diversity, equality, and inclusion in the vascular surgery field. How do you perceive the progress being made to support and encourage young women entering or thinking of entering the field, right from the beginning of your career to now, and as the president of SBS, and also following the controversy of the paper? And what difficulties or barriers remain?
Well, the controversy that one of our articles that we published and then rapidly retracted when it caused a controversy was a major issue and an eye-opener to us as editors, to our society, and I believe to all surgical journals, editors, or even editors in the medical field everywhere, because there was such a reaction of the public to an article that was published on potentially the unprofessional conduct of young vascular surgeons. Now, clearly, we went back and obviously we scrutinized the publication of this paper, and the implicit bias that was so obvious in this publication was clearly because of a lack of diversity, equity, inclusion in the editorial system, in the peer review system, and in the entire publication process. This was a paper that was authored by 6 men and 1 female surgeon. The criteria were kind of used to make judgment on the young vascular surgeon by 3 men. The reviewers and the commentary also lacked diversity. It was obvious. So there were a lot of issues that ever since the retraction became evident. And I think what we have done is we did a root cause analysis. We determined, I believe, what has to be done. We consulted with our society at the regular intervals. And as a result of that, we made already, and we are making a series of changes in our editorial and peer review process. And just this week, we announced the nomination of an associate editor of the Journal of Vascular Surgery with a special focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. We already announced a significant increase of women and underrepresented minorities on the editorial boards of each of the journal. We also joined the call to action to all surgery journal editors for diversity in the editorial and peer review process. An article that was published by Dr. Kibian Freschlag in the JAMA that actually looked at 251 surgical journals and found that only 6.7% had female editors. So I think the changes that we have made in our editorial system have been transforming, and we are going to see further changes because we are going to create a diversity and equity and inclusion in our system that matters. We are going to have an active participation of women and underrepresented minorities in every area of the editorial and peer review process.
I also noticed that majority of the women vascular surgeons are below the age of 40. And above the age of 40, only a handful of female vascular surgeons are there experienced enough to be able to, be eminent enough to be on editorial boards and also also the panels, etc. Do you think there is a risk that in order to satisfy the gender criteria, we may have to recruit more younger people with lesser experience, and that may not be the most ideal way to go forward.
When we select women for editorial board membership, we certainly are very careful, and we look at merit and not at gender. But we certainly, we have to be careful that we select those who have experience, expertise, and a history of reviewing papers. So I'm sure that this is a process that's going to be much easier as the years go by, because of the increasing number of women among the young vascular surgeons and trainees.
Oh, I totally agree with you, because I have a lot of women vascular surgery colleagues in all over the world, and they are doing excellent work, even though they are younger, below 40, and they do deserve to be on the panels and editorial boards. And I think that that's the way to go forward. I hear you have an autobiography released in Hungarian?
That is correct. The Semmelweis University was kind to me, and they asked a journalist to put together a book about my life journey. And originally it was meant to be published or introduced in May, but because of the COVID pandemic, we had a little bit behind. So although I have already pre-publication copies of the book, but it looks like we are going to wait for the opportunity until I will be able to get physically to Hungary to make the official opening of the book. But it certainly has been a wonderful recognition of my work and life by the university that this year celebrates its 250th anniversary.
And would an English version of it be forthcoming as well shortly?
English version, we are working on it, and I'm extremely hopeful it's going to come out, but we have to first come out with the Hungarian version. So you have to talk to the infectious disease experts and the pharmaceutical companies to come out with those vaccines soon, so life can be normalized, and we will have the English version as well.
For my Hungarian listeners, Peter's biography is available. It is called Varázsgomb és Zike, and it's by Ko András. Did I get it right, Peter?
That's right. It's Kő András.
Okay.
He is a wonderful writer and author of 25 previous books on lives of famous Hungarian people, mostly those who received the Olympic gold medals for Hungary. And the title is Varázsgomb és Zike, which is the magic ball and the scalpel.
We look forward to that. You had such a checkered career, and although you have left Mayo, but you're far from retired. What do you want to achieve now, and what motivates you?
What motivates me most are my two grandchildren. One of them is Nicholas, the other one is Catherine. Just wonderful young people. My grandson, my only grandson, was born in June, and I haven't had a chance to see him yet. My daughter, Julia, lives in New York State, and we were not able to get there. I certainly feel myself as part of the Mayo Clinic community, and I am an emeritus member, but active participants in the conferences of the Mayo Clinic and in Rochester when I was there, and hopefully now I'm going to participate one way or another here at Scottsdale as well. As you know, there is a Mayo Clinic in Scottsdale, which belongs pretty much very close, which is very close to the Rochester campus. And I am working very hard to make the Journal of Vascular Surgery the premier international vascular journal. And we have now 4 journals. The Journal of Vascular Surgery, the Journal of Vascular Surgery, Venous and Lymphatic Disorders, the Case Report on Innovative Techniques, and this year we started the JVS Vascular Science, and for another 2 years, I'm going to be the editor of the JVS journals together with my senior editor colleague, Peter Lawrence. So that certainly will take up a lot of my time, and I will work on the English edition of my book.
Great. It's been such a pleasure listening to your thoughts on various aspects of your life and career and your work. And thank you so much for being with me and sharing your life with me. Thank you so much. It's been a real honor and pleasure.
Thank you, Ramesh. It has been a real pleasure, and I'm looking forward to see you soon, not only at a Zoom meeting, but personally at the annual meeting of the Society for Vascular Surgery or the American Venous Forum, 2 societies that we have been working together for so many years, and 2 societies that we cherish so much. Thank you very much for inviting me, and I truly appreciate the opportunity to share this with you and our listeners.
Thank you very much.
This podcast was brought to you by Radcliffe Vascular and is sponsored by Medtronic. To view the series, head to radcliffevascular.com/vascularPODCAST. You can also find us on all well-known podcast platforms and follow us on Twitter @RadcliffeVascu. Thanks for listening.